Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to your magical moon message. This is the Peace Dealer, Moon in Capricorn, Sun in Taurus, ninth house, opening, or rather closing trine, because the opening trine was Virgo. This is it. This is it. A lot's going to happen really quick. You'll see me saying this is it to almost every transit because they're in the perpetual moment of present or presence, which is a gift and all that. But yes, this is it. Why? Well, a lot's gonna happen in this transit. A whole lot is gonna happen in this transit. And I'm calling this manifesting awakened power because that's really what you're gonna do. I'm gonna bring you back to Invincible. Episode 8 was fucking insane. The Viltrumites are basically Saiyans. Spoiler alert. I probably should have said spoiler alert before I spoiled it. But other than that, yeah. Episode 1 of Invincible, which once again, I just really like referencing that show. Really awesome Netflix original. When he manifested his powers, his father said that it usually takes until puberty, but at the later end, some people may do it at 18. And so this dude didn't have this kumbaya, and that's why I like that show, because like it was super realistic. Dude didn't really have this kumbaya moment of realization, like, I'm awakening my power. No, it actually happened accidentally. He was unconscious of it. He was throwing a trash can and he accidentally chucked it into space. Now, you're not gonna actually some of you will accidentally just like, I hate you, I hope you never come back, and then, you know, someone's dead and that's how you awaken. Hopefully it doesn't have to be like that for you. But like, yeah, the whole notion of you unconsciously manifesting this, because basically what happened was that with him growing into and coming of age, the latent energy in his DNA, episode 8 of Invincible basically said that Viltrumite DNA is so pure, he's basically full-blooded, even though he was born a half-breed. And I'm using this half-breed, that's so fucking, if that's racist, my bad. But like, yeah, so other than that, I'm using that as an example because this is how your powers are awakening. Doesn't matter where you're from, you have a genetic lineage. You have a 4th house in your natal chart. So your genetic lineage, through your own DNA imprint, that's why I don't really care about this whole past life bullshit, because I have a more, linear aspect of your past life. I feel like your past life can only be through your own genetic lineage or spiritual ancestry. So you could have been a spirit in a past life. Maybe you could have been a non-corporeal entity. But really, I personally believe that you reincarnate down your genetic line. So your past life was you with your DNA that you came back around to recycle. I could be wrong. That's really more a theory for me. But you have genetics, okay? And in your DNA is all the latent genetic coding from your ancestors, from your actual genealogy. And so you are in the midst of a collective transit and period where rather collectively, you're a part of a period where collectively DNA from back in your ancestry to now is awakening. That cumulative effect is manifesting to your body superpowers. Okay, so Pluto is awakening this, and it's not just something that happens once. You had to have the last 10 years to align this cognitively. You had to have the last 10 years before that to align that subconsciously. You had to have time before you were born for your parents to interweave that through their own catalysts and experiences, a lot of which your parents were born during war generations, which has a lot to do with it. A lot of your parents or your parents' parents have known war. This has bred respect in them. This is why they look at, us today and how much lack of respect we have and how entitled many of us are, because unless you're from Syria or the Middle East, or if you're living in a first world country, you don't know what war is like. All right, unless you're from the inner city ghettos like Chicago, and even them, they still have the luxury to live a very dangerous lifestyle within the throes of a peacetime era. It's not the same as being a refugee and having to run from different countries like motherfuckers in Syria. So like, there's a lot of people who they're not like, you don't even know like how crazy this world could be. Your parents and their parents have had that stress that really activated more of this DNA release. And then they had you. So they didn't even have the time to explore that. You're their legacy. You're exploring that. All right? Or you may have given it down to children. So here's the thing. Pluto coming back around this gauntlet, the moon has gone over the south node. We're in the gauntlet now. Moon's going to go over Pluto. Then it's going to go in Aquarius. It's going to go over Saturn. Then it's going to go over Jupiter, which is insane. Then it's going to go over Neptune. Then it's going to go over Chiron. Then it's going to go over Uranus. I shit you not. Then it's going to go over Mercury and Venus. And then it's going to go over the North Node. And then we're going to have that 2 weeks of oppositions. Okay? So this is how in successive cycles you are releasing each month more DNA coding to manifest as genetic potential that you make kinetic with your conscious awareness. This is now where science sucks, because science has still pussyfooted and flirted with the actual reality of consciousness and life force and chi, which is a very important element. Honestly, I believe many scientists have very powerful wisdom and understanding of chi, but this is not necessarily something that you can teach people in mass, because weaponizing life force will have us deal with ninjutsu and the issue with Naruto, where people weaponized their chakra and, you know, basically created 3 ninja wars. Considering that we already weaponize physical items, are we ready to deal with this revolution where people weaponize their own life force? It's not something that hasn't already been happening for the past few decades to centuries, but it's something that more people in mass will come into the enlightenment of inevitably, which is what's going to lead into this next ridiculous revolution. But outside of that, it's a transit like today that fully pushes you over the hump of actually knowing what you're manifesting. Because every time this has happened since Pluto entered Capricorn 2008, you've been manifesting more power to your DNA. Moon and the sun will go over Pluto, start that cycle, come through Taurus, manifest in your body, come through Virgo, experience it, boom, come back up, boom, come back up, boom, come back up, boom, come back up. This has been happening for years. And now we're coming onto the Aqua Saturn and Jupiter, literally giving you knowledge at a highly intellectual level in your mind for you to actually process coming into Gemini. What the fuck is happening? You're fucking awakening. You're fucking awakening. You're fucking awakening. Okay? Don't even excuse my language. You're awakening. So like, it's this transit that you're literally going to have the moon square Chiron, psych check, you be like, do you know you're superpowered? Go over Pluto, actually awaken this, and that's what's going to coming into the moon in the new moon in Taurus, manifest this in your body. That means the full moon started the transformation process. The moon in Sagittarius actually transform your perception. This is where you now start to actually activate and awaken the physical power that you will actually, 9th house to this Taurus physical sense, physically see and experience this ascension. This is it. This is it. This is it. This is where you're actually going to have, with the trine to Uranus, while the sun is conjuncting Uranus, I can't make any of this shit up, actual, unconventional, supernatural experiences that actually make unique this process of manifestation. This is it. You're manifesting awakened power. And it's misleading to say this because you've been doing this for the past like 10 plus years. But this is the stage where you actually now spill out to be aware of a subatomic genetic process. Okay? We could throw all this bullshit about, you know, superior genes and whoever is like the better race out the window, because it's really about your spirit and your soul, which none of which color has anything to do with. It's really about who can maintain integrity of such an etheric concept. That's what will unite people. I mean, you have more in common with someone outside your race and culture who is the same zodiac sign than someone who is a different zodiac sign but of the same culture and race. Okay, so like I can be on this bullshit where it's like, us whites need to stick together, us black people need to stick together, but I actually have more in common than a Chinese Gemini and a white Gemini and a Caribbean Gemini than I do with other black people. And you're going to really see this. That spirit holds the number one place in hierarchy, then physical genetics, okay? But it's all subservient to this invisible aspect that lasts forever. Everything finite and physical does not last forever. And this is where you're really going to step as soon as the moon really kicks off this transit opposite Mars in Cancer to feel how to harness this power. This is going to set off a chain of very unique idiosyncrasies that will tie to your abilities, and this is going to feel uncomfortable because your body is going to release latent energy that will facilitate and feel like you're releasing depression. For those of you who are super depressed, Moon in Capricorn is a melancholic, cynical vibration. Unless you're Moon in Caps like us, then this is just like breathing fresh air. Like, we live this shit. We feel this every day. It's shit. When people empathically tap into us, they're like, oh my gosh, you feel so depressed. And it's like, no, bitch. Like, this is just how we feel. This is actually, we got resting bitch face. Like, this is actually how we feel happy. Like, a lot of people think that we're sad when we feel happy because we just carry this heavy energy. And so transits like this, for some of you who don't have this, could be overwhelming, when really you just need to toughen up. Boss up, my friend, because you're gonna feel like you're releasing a lot of depression, but you're not. You're just releasing a lot of deep, latent energy that has not been expressed, that has not been acknowledged, because you may have seen this as devilish, taboo, dark. And so your critical mind is going to process this as if you're sad, but you're not sad. You're releasing a fuck ton of negative, unreleased, unexpressed energy, so that what's left clear can facilitate this greater activation, okay? Moon going over Pluto is going to be very deep. It's going to awaken so much more deeper in light of the knowledge with all this Jupiter and Aquarius evolving energy. What the hell is actually happening? And this is what's going to lead into Taurus season, because we're not done with this process too. We're going to have this again next year, but Jupiter will be in Pisces to where you're fully experiencing beyond this realm. And then we're going to have the Jupiter in Aries, because Pluto is going to be in Capricorn for a minute. And so this is just that stage of this awakening where we now, with the sun on Uranus, are so much more aware of the physiological manifestation and the effects of awakening DNA and genetics in our physical makeup, in which we actually know what's happening instead of being unconscious. So you can stop fucking boring these angels by saying, you see these master numbers, 12, 12, 12. I just saw 1222 as I said that. We saw these awakening numbers. And it's like, no, motherfucker, like, you're seeing these numbers because it's a sign. You're supposed to go somewhere. You're not supposed to see it like, ah. And so finally, you're going to actually awaken more to like what to do with all this information and realize, oh shit, I've been playing with myself. Shout out to those of you who've been playing with yourself. But other than that, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is really, really revealing, because secrets to your own character, abilities that only you can do, techniques that can only be formed by you, are going to open up on this day. Unconscious habits and activities that have had you using your abilities, because your subconscious exists regardless of if you're conscious of it or not. And so you have a whole shadow self that operates unconscious to you, and you're going to be more conscious and in knowledge of how you've been using your abilities your whole life, but then been thanking Archangel Zachariah, who doesn't even exist. Like, you motherfuckers made up angel names. You feel me? Like Uriel and Michael and like Gabriel, like, who the fuck are these other archangels? I swear you guys make up one every year. Zadkiel, Zeramiel, like, what the fuck? Like, I don't remember that in the past life. It was just, you feel me? Like, I feel like I reincarnated, and now there's all these extra angels and shit. But it is. All these mysteries you're gonna be enlightened to. The moon's gonna sextile Neptune and Pisces. This is gonna actually subconsciously guide your imagination intuitively when we're dealing with a metaphysical axis of what's not physically real. Neptune represents the subatomic particles, the quantum mechanics that involve particles too small for you to measure, right? It's this Neptunian intuitive guidance that most people think is bullshit, because most people lie about and defraud others, because everyone's psychic and woke nowadays. Well, this is still a real phenomenon, and your body physically is going to be guided by this abstract essence of your imagination. It's not going to make sense. It's going to feel really strange, because it is really strange. This is what opens you up to deal with like fairies. And I know a lot of people don't believe in fairies, and it's kind of weird to even bring that up. This is going to be a strange transit. Don't be so quick to figure things out. Just open up to your own body's response to these supernatural aspects and be prepared to awaken supernatural power, because this is going to instantly kick you into the war and you're instantly going to be fighting more on the battlefield. Stay blessed. What power are you awakening?